Yamuna Tira Shrimadbhagavatam, Divine Grace, Founder Viskana Bhai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananti Gauri Vaishnava Ki Jai, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. Dear most merciful Lord, Shri Shri Harikunja Vihari Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladeva Subhadra Ki Jai, Shri Nataji Shri Balagopal Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gonitai Ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanand. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Lord, Spirit of Shri Shri Guru Ji Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraya
Jayamudiraye
Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu
Nashtiprayashu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki.
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 6, Verse 20, Text 20. Evam yatantam bijane. Evam yatantam bijane. Mam ahagucharo jiram. Mam ahagucharo jiram. Gambira Lakshnaya Vaja. Gambira Lakshnaya Vaja.
vacha
Sucha
Sucha
Prasamayan
Prasamayan
Eva
Eva
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Evam Yatantam Dijani
Evam Yatantam Vijani
Mamaha Gocharo Jiram
Namaha Gocharo Giram
Gambira Shlaksnaya Vacha
Gambhiras Laksnaya Vacha
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Evam Yatantam Dijani
Evam Yatantam Vijani
Mamaho Jataro Kiram
Namaha Gocharo Giram
Gambira Shlaksnaya Vacha
Gambhiras Laksnaya Vacha
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Evam Yatantam Vijane Mamaho Gocharo Giram Gambira Shlaksnaya Vacha Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Evam Etantam Vijane
Evam Yatantam Vijane
Mamaha Gocharo Giram
Mamaha Gocharo Giram
Gambhiras Laksnaya Vacha
Gambira Shlaksnaya Vacha
Sucha Prasamayan Eva
Sucha Prasamayan Eva Evam Yatantam Vijane Mamaho Jataro Giram Gambira Shlaksnaya Vacha Sucha Prasamayan Eva Evam
Evam
Thus
Das
Yatantam
Yatantam
one who is engaged in attempting
One who is engaged in attempting
Vijane
Vijay
in that lonely place
that lonely place
Mam
Mama
unto me
unto me
Aha
Aha
said
said
Agochara
Agochara
beyond the range of physical sound
beyond the range of physical sound
Giram
Giram
utterances
utterances
Gambira
Gambhira
grave
grave
Slakshnaya
Laksnaya
pleasing to hear
pleasing to hear
Vacha
Vacha
words
words
Sucha
Sucha
grief
grief
Prasamaya
Prasamayan
mitigating
mitigate
Eva
Eva
like
like
translation and purport by His Divine Grace of Acharnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. Please repeat. Seeing my attempts
seeing my attempts
in that lonely place,
in that lonely place
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of God
who is transcendental
who is transcendental
to all mundane description,
to all mundane descriptions
spoke to me
spoke to me
with gravity
with gravity
and pleasing words
pleasing words
just to mitigate my grief.
just to mitigate my grief.
Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. Purport by His Divine Grace of Acharnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the Vedas, excuse me, it is said that God is beyond the approach of mundane words and intelligence, and yet, by His causeless mercy, one can have suitable senses to hear Him or to speak to Him. That is the Lord's inconceivable energy. One upon whom His mercy is bestowed can hear him. The Lord was much pleased with Narad Muni, and therefore the necessary strength was invested in him so that he could hear the Lord. It is not, however, possible for others to perceive directly the touch of the Lord during the probationary stage of regulative devotional service. It was a special gift for Narad. When he heard the pleasing words of the Lord, the feelings of separation were to some extent mitigated. A devotee in love with God feels always the pangs of separation and is therefore always enwrapped in transcendental ecstasy. Om Jnana-Tamanandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshusun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Again, every verse revealing relationship that the soul has with Krishna, and by continuous application of the principles of Krishna consciousness to our lives and endeavoring to pursue this devotional attitude towards Krishna, towards the service, to humanity at large, towards all living entities that will benefit by this devotional service. And we see that eventually then one can come to the place. Srila Prabhupada said we don't expect, that if I do this, then Krishna is going to do this automatically. But I was reminded yesterday on this verse when Narad was saying how that because he had gained Krishna's darshan, he was thinking, well, just by repeating those mantras again, boom, here comes Krishna, but that's not how it worked out. And Srila Prabhupada had made a statement that now I see how it's related to this as well. Don't act in such a way that you're trying to seek Krishna. Act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. And so then we can understand in Krishna's time, every clock in this house has a different time on it. And so I'm thinking, boy, that's not good because Krishna is time. So we gotta all be seeing the same, we see Krishna the same way, We're 5 minutes early, 5 minutes fast, 10 minutes late, what can we do? But it's revealing as well to some extent that every devotee has a different relationship with Krishna. If you watch all the offerings being done, they're all set to be done at a specific time. But as we go through the day, we will notice that every single devotee has either a habit of either being 2 minutes early, 2 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 5 minutes late, and they're all exactly on that time every time. It's like that's the time it's going to be offered, even though it's constantly that time. And I have been told by some cooks, which I have had the very experience of, the earlier I start, the later I get. So you make an endeavor to try and get faster. Like today, I was late and ended up being early. So what can be done? That's the way the kitchen is. I'm 20 minutes late, actually. I usually start at 20 to 7. I didn't start till like 5 after 7 because I didn't realize it's 7 till here chanting, and then I get to go find him. But Krishna is time, meaning he is the controlling factor of the present, the past, and the future. And he knows it all. The beginning, the end, he is that as well. That's another thing my name can be interpreted to mean. And as we add at the end das, ek is the beginning and antya is the end. So ekanta is the beginning and the end, and then I am a servant of the one who is the beginning and the end. That is Krishna. Christians call their Savior the beginning and the end. But they call him that in the Greek, the Alpha and the Omega. And Krishna is everything in between for us as well, not only the beginning. But when we come to know the reality and the eternalness, there is no beginning, is the thing. So there is a transcendental means of seeing Krishna that, in my understanding, we will only get the vision of by understanding that Krishna is the transcendence in all life. That allows us to see, even though Krishna and Radharani, it is said that Radharani is an expansion of Krishna's love. Nevertheless, there never was a time when she was not that. So it's not as though Krishna was all alone and then boom. But this is the Christian concept of life's beginning. See, if you know your enemies, but to speak, we will call Christians our friends, even though they consider us their enemies. They call us demons. I used to be one of them, I know very well. So we can understand their perspective. I have a book called Mao Zedong, something like that. Oh, Tao Te Ching, that's what it's called. And it's the Chinese book of the Tao. And their perspective, you might say, on the eternal. And the concept of eternal, when you analyze it, in and of itself is a transcendent idea that goes beyond anything in this world. And so the meaning of the term transcendence has itself with it the connotation of something that cannot be experienced within this material world. It is beyond it. And that is Krishna's body is of that nature, which Narada Muni is saying, just to see Krishna's body, because it is of that nature. So like I was explaining, the closest thing we have to that in this world is Krishna's form he's taking in the form of the deity. But even in that form, I don't know. Krishna's form is Satchidananda. So the deity form can't be compared either to anything in this material world, really. It's been around as long as anything, and it came from Krishna. So it's non-different from Krishna as well, which is the way we have to see. So see, we don't see anything else in this world that we can accredit that to. Can't say, Mahatma Gandhi is in the chair he sat in, Or even in the book. You could read his book and then, oh boy, Mahatma Gandhi's going to talk to me now. But Krishna is transcendental like that. And so, as well, by time, what regulated devotional service is, very fortunately, we have in ISKCON, Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kaviyati Jai Dikadna Jai Baladev Manishi Bhakti Jai Shri Shri Ganesha. We have regulated devotional service by simply applying the instructions our Guru gives us, whether he has us distributing books or in the temple performing different services or like that. This is regulated devotional service that becomes a daily habit. Once it's established as a daily habit, then you're willing to want to do more by the taste you're getting for the experience of. And see, now, this has been our experience now. because devotees who live 40, 50, 60 miles away, by Krishna's mercy, are finding it within their reach to be able to come to the temple to do service. But as much as they're finding themselves capable as once a week, twice a week, 3, 4, 5 times a week. But not living here under the regulative principles of Varna, Ashram, Dharma, and like that, it's not required the same way. When Srila Prabhupada was establishing the first temple, the devotees were engaged in activities according to time and circumstance. They didn't even know about the 4 regulative principles. Mother Chintamani would tell me when they first came, they didn't know nothing about it, Krishna consciousness at all. So they would wear wool on the altar, wear animal hair, which wool is from the lambs. So there's so many principles that in the society we were brought up in, whether you were brought up in Europe or United States or in the Eastern Asian continent, all of these different societies have customs built in within them that reveal how far away they are from the customs and etiquettes of Vaishnava philosophy, Vaishnava application of Vaishnava. By applying the principles of Vaishnava etiquette, then, our experience with our minds being filled with those principles that we're constantly having to follow becomes automatic. When I rise, of course, for the last 40 years even, every morning the same mantra. But it's the same remembrance by the worship of that mantra, but by the use of that mantra in worship. It's part of you. The philosophy you are living by carrying out these devotional activities, you become a representative of, you could say, right? But you don't have to be asked every day to do this. Not something. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if anyone offers me with loving devotion a fruit, some water, a leaf, I will accept it, he says, right? But we have, so people come here and say, I want to offer this to Krishna. And they think, well, I just put it on the offering there. Just put it on, like you would money, you just drop it in the box and boom, it's offered, and I take it home. And it's for me. That's not the way it's been set up since time immemorial. And so, by following the process then, we learn what the experience of transcendence is that goes beyond just by following the etiquette, that goes beyond. So, before we go on the altar, we have a mantra that not only cleanses the body inside and out, but it protects the senses of the body from being easily overpowered by the lust of the mind. So these mantras are very powerful, that are going to enable us by their application day after day to experience the transcendence that these mantras themselves are. Because by the consciousness of the participant of the mantra, the realization of the substance the mantra is and its eternalness, the substance of its eternalness, being just as the soul is, it again turns into that food for the soul. See, we're seeing Narad Muni, if he can go from planet to planet to planet, he doesn't need a spacesuit either. So his body, by Krishna's giving him the kind of body then he has received after this personal association with Krishna. Once you get a personal association like that, and he's revealing how special that personal association is, then he thereafter wanted it so much. He was wanting to do anything for it. But as Srila Prabhupada says as well, and as also I found true in Christianity, those things, even about God, that you run after, they run away from you. Especially money is like that. But when you take the renounced path, boom, all of a sudden everything's coming to try and tempt you to be, taking this, take that, take this thing. I want you to have this. It's like everything falls into your lap. So that is why when we approach Krishna, the same way we got into the material world with the wrong thoughts towards Krishna. Now the proper thoughts towards this transcendence can bring us back to Krishna. And that's what Narad Muni is revealing here through his experience with Krishna personally. So we're not going by the words of someone who heard from someone who heard from someone who heard from someone. In a sense, we're saying the parampara is like that, but each in the chain themselves have personal relationship with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gained that on the way here, on the Jaladuta, the name of the boat, after suffering heart attacks. Because you can imagine the question I know that would be in my mind after suffering one heart attack would be, is this what you really want me to do, Krishna? Or am I just, concocting this in my mind? That would be what would be going through my mind. And so, Srila Prabhupada having that relation with Krishna before this life, think about that. And having gained realization of that and what this movement was going to be in the future, a worldwide movement. He knew that in 1949 when talking with either one of his godbrothers or one of his guru's godbrothers, as they used to both distribute Bhagavatam. And then they would talk after distributing and share. This is one of the glorious things in Krishna consciousness with distribution of books. Every devotee, every day, is having spiritual, these transcendental experiences by the distribution of these books. Every day something happens that Krishna just proves to you that he's interacting with your interactions with the community at large. And so it's just a wonderful experience. I like to try and encourage, especially devotees that are at such a young age, to try and do what you can to get out into the field, as we would call it, with a group of book distributors, and get a good year or two, at least of that, in your background, so that it will be such a foundation of your faith in Krishna. And it will be one of the means Krishna will have of giving you his consciousness in the endeavor. It's the consciousness of the gopis as well. It's the consciousness of Lord Chaitanya as well, to bring the truth of Krishna consciousness to the general public, to give it to everyone you see, everyone you meet, he says. Even though in past times it was only given to a restricted few, whoever, a prestigious echelon, available only to a select, like the rich of this world, would have control of it and only give it to those that they wanted to have it. But Lord Chaitanya, no. He's opening up, it says, the treasure house of love of God. Wow. We have to take for heart to heart what that means. And that is perfectly embodied in the single being of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Love of God to the extreme, ultimate, most, to be revealed to all life. Came to the tigers, came to the deer, danced with them in the forest. And everyone he came in contact with gave personal presence of Srimati Radharani and Krishna combined. What a privilege to have that. And still going through the universes to bring back the fallen souls. That is love of God. In one body, the completeness of love of God. This is the secret of the ISKCON movement, is that the perfection of love of God to be found in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then beyond that mercy that is found in that love by Krishna's own bliss in the form of Lord Nityananda, his bliss. More merciful than the combined mercy of Radha and Krishna is to be found in Nityananda Prabhu, which is why he is the door in our hearts to finding Krishna. We go through Lord Nityananda. And he is the strength of Krishna. He is the bliss of Krishna. And Shrimati Radharani is extending to us also in this form of Tulsi Devi when we worship in the morning. I was upstairs this morning because you give me such inspiration, inspiring me about the things I already know in Krishna consciousness, but revealing to me by reminding me the bliss of looking at every one of these pictures in the hallway upstairs. There is Mother Saraswati upstairs, clothed in gold. She is the goddess of fortune, right? She is the goddess of learning. She is the goddess of wisdom. They say this is patriarchal. They say this is a patriarchal religion, right? This is Mother Saraswati. And she is on this planet in the form of Shrimati Tulsi Devi. But they are also expansions. But in the same way, Shrimati Radharani is an expansion of Krishna's love. Balaram, Nityananda are expansions of Krishna's aspects of Krishna's personality. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani is an eternal aspect of Shrimati Radharani's personality. And there never has been a day when there was not. She was not existing. But she appears in this universe at a particular time and place. But every universe, how many billions of universes there are? Krishna is appearing in every one of them. And Krishna himself is in every atom. How blind are we? I can't see Krishna in every atom. Yet he's there. So I'm in a state of blindness. This illusion that we are in this material universe, covered by mucus, pus, and blood, limits us to the ability we are able to see with the physical senses. But it's unable to keep us by the scriptures revealing to us the truth that we can see through the eyes of the spiritual body, the soul. That's what the scriptures is telling us to see from. And the consciousness we will become free to be able to experience that is abiding by the etiquettes and the consciousness of the mind that Krishna is revealing to us is pleasing to him. Stop in our minds of trying to do things with a result in the end for us to enjoy. Even in the battle, Krishna tells Arjuna, this is not yours, you know. All the fruits of activities are the end result of this, none of it's yours. And so, nevertheless, he pleaded with the Kauravas to give him land for the Pandavas to be able to govern. It doesn't mean that we don't have an access. Krishna wants to give us access to everything. We can't give us access to that if we have the mentality that we want to control everything. Isn't it a paradox? It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? But that's the only way to break the false ego. And it is this possessiveness that we have, that we think we have a right to everything. We think everything is made for us. And that's the false ego that got us into this material situation. It is the breaking of this false ego that is the most difficult to do. That is what is relating us to all the breaking these four regulative principles as well. But once that is broken, then it becomes here revealed that it turns into automatic devotion. You come to the temple, you see something here. Nobody told you to clean it, but you do. This has been for you to me. I saw this boy engaging in this floor cleaning. Nobody asked him to do that. But since day one, he's been like doing that on a regular basis. This is the kind of devotional service we're talking about working towards. See, when you reveal that kind of thing, you automatically become an example to others. And now people come here and you're part of something just because your attention is towards wanting, like you said, to serve Krishna. And that's the greatest developed consciousness we can continue to have. And as long as we continue with that mentality, everything else will be fulfilled, and we don't have to worry. Krishna is trying to take us away. If we involve our minds with the desire to enjoy all these things, then we have to trouble with our minds with the ways of gaining them. But if we aim undivided attention towards Krishna, then all those things will be taken care of. We don't have to worry about it. To know it's Krishna's energy controlling everything. It's Krishna's mind, it's Krishna's thoughts, it's Krishna's dream in the form of Mahavishnu. Krishna's in control of everything. What do we have to worry about? What is there to fear? What is there to doubt? Just sing. Srila Prabhupada's books, chant, and be happy. Wow. Isn't that a wonderful thing to think about? All he asks us to do. And we make it difficult. I don't know what time it is anymore. I don't know when to stop. Anytime. Is it about Prashadam time? 5 to 9 or so.
8:37.
Oh, we have more time. But with the consciousness of a devotee, every moment is Prashadam time. Because Bhagavatam is Prashadam, chanting is Prashadam, taking Prashadam is Prashadam, taking water. Krishna says, I am the taste of water. What more Prashadam can there be? You know? So every moment is Prashadam. And then Srila Prabhupada said, if we were to celebrate all the saints' appearance days, every day would be an appearance day. So there's so much to be thankful for that Krishna consciousness is protecting us from, when in fact right now somebody is on a battlefield getting shot at by bullets that will kill them. Wrong move, wrong way. It's just incredible what's going on in the world and what is being made available to those human beings that want to find Krishna. He's gone to the greatest extent possible to come all the way from Vaikuntha. This personal form, he expands himself, but he doesn't have to do that really. Our expression of rebellion against his ways, to come here, to be born into a society totally against the ways of God, is evidence that we don't really deserve Krishna. And I don't know how grievous it was, the lust we had to enjoy him for ourselves. Now we get put into a place where we can give Krishna to everyone else. So that, what is the result of that? Krishna wants to be our enabler, because this is his work. He's the one that started in the form of Lord Chaitanya. This Sankirtan movement that Lord Chaitanya started, it is the prime benediction for not just a few, but for humanity at large, because all the spiritual engagement that devotees engage in, it is for the benefit of all of humanity. And by Lord Chaitanya's finding pleasure with the devotees, he brings, he says, his benediction moon. Now, we know by instruction of Srila Prabhupada that the moon, it is what gives taste to vegetables. Most people don't know that in the American society. I won't say that for all societies, but having been brought up in America, even going to science class, even studying science from what I know, in college they won't tell you that. Yet the moon is the cause of taste. Now, the moon, as a planet, is in relationship with the sun, right? And the sun is itself the determining factor of how elevated the planet in relationship to it is in the universe. Reflecting that same universal position is that relationship, those advanced souls that are on the Svetatweep, the planet at the universe's bottom, in which Krishna is lying in the center of, and no one but Lord Brahma gains access to. Are you reading? Have you read Brahma Samhita? Oh, Brahma Samhita is a totally new experience for the mind, for the soul, and for the memory. Because some of us were, and to a great extent the possibility exists that those who are this close to Lord Chaitanya's recent visit, they have probably been. There are so many billions of universes emanating from the body to reach this established place of closeness to Lord Chaitanya at this particular time. Most of us have been in places of Brahma. And Brahma Samhita and Lord Brahma's relationship to Krishna. Brahma is the head of the Sampradaya. Brahma manifests with Lord Chaitanya in past times as Namacharya Haridas Thakur, who engages himself in this body with the ability to chant Krishna's name more than anybody else, which makes him the Acharya, the teacher of chanting the holy name, and what would otherwise be considered impossible by most human beings. He was sleeping 2 hours a day or so. Just incredible life. And that is why Krishna originally chose him to be Brahma in the first place. He had already attained to an established level of spirituality before this universe was ever brought into existence. So, what memory he gives. See, Srila Prabhupada made the statement, it was his wish that his disciples would take up the reading of this Brahma Samhita as a regular daily function. Now, when you hear Govindam Adi Purusham, that is Brahma Samhita. So beautiful. Oh, I'll tell you, yesterday I was reminded as well. I hope I can find it online. There is a young girl from Australia that makes a song, sings a song in glorification of Tulsi Maharani. Do you know her name? Do you know who I'm talking about, though? You know the song? Tulsi Maharani, Rinde Maharani. She sings it so beautifully. Just to have that sound once again going through the temple, because I remember when devotees were having daily duties in the temple back in the 80s, back in the 70s. This song was then becoming a favorite of devotees because she was singing this at a young, very young age as well. And see, as it is with most young people, their development of love is at such a stage of innocence. It hasn't been marked by, tainted by the false ego as much as those of us who have developed the sense for I, me, and mine. And so you see their purity, and it's spoken of in Bhagavatam. This is what parents, when they hear the voice of their children, that purity brings to remembrance the purity of the soul. So these childs, it's a form of innocence. Now, in some respects, older devotees, more mature, would say it's ignorance. But when they imply by their expressions and their questions about Krishna, then you see how Srila Prabhupada says, purity is the force. I saw these young boys, must have been like 13, 14. Oh, Krishna, I'm sorry. They're like 14, 15 years old, and they were in Vrindavan. They were playing Vrindavis and cartels. Oh, Krishna, this sound just hit the soul, you know. It's hard to explain what it was. I don't know how to put it into words. And it just forces out of me. A remembrance just brings tears to my eyes, because what this attraction of God in pure souls is that which will bring everyone, even criminals, when they see the purity that can come out of souls that are of a pure nature. It can be such an attractive force that drop their criminal activity altogether. And that's the kind of purity we want to develop in our lives. I'm sorry, I get overwhelmed. This is one of my biggest fears. Because if I do this in front of a crowd of people, I just can't control myself. It's not good. But scriptures say these are things that will automatically happen to us. Because Krishna consciousness is so beautiful. It's such a magnificent way of life. I don't know how better to put it than that, but the way of life that it has led me to be able to live now, I know has kept me free. I'd probably be in jail somewhere, you know. I had no regard for human life, for human laws. Once I came to find out the superiority of following God, I put aside my regard as to believing that man had the power of God in his court systems. After finding out how corrupt the quote-unquote legal systems of the world are, legal systems of the world, and they have been used and set up by dictators who want control, nothing more than control of people for themselves. And which is what happens when people approach God thinking of him as being like men, only with stronger capabilities, then they misregard and misrepresent, which is why all these wars are being fought now in Kali Yuga. There is no cause to fight in these wars now in Kali Yuga, because now we have as our strongest military weaponry this Harinama. Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalonasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Katiranyata. If we want to sing these names like Haridas, endlessly, eternally, after this life we want to continue singing Krishna with Krishna's devotees, then it is this consciousness that we have to develop, that I am lower in a straw in the street, and remain in that mind that I don't have within myself a strong enough will to overcome the illusory potency of Krishna. If Lord Shiva himself cannot, then I cannot either. I've come to that conclusion. So I give my will to Krishna. I don't want to make even my own decisions. I made that decision when I went into the cave. I was asking questions to God like this. Should we use deodorant? I would ask questions like that to God because I felt I was having a personal enough relationship for him to be able to answer me like that. By some external way, God would show me and reveal this. Then I come to Krishna consciousness. Wow, all these things are pointed out in the brahmachari manual that we were given, all these things. On the altar, brahmachari doesn't wear a clothes. Tirtha was explaining to me yesterday, though, some aspects that I was not aware of. But see, what is so unique in Krishna consciousness, there's no questions left unanswered. You can find on every path there are questions. They will say, oh, well, we don't have to know that. Nobody knows that. God doesn't know that even. They have that in their mind. They actually believe that. But I have found, with all the knowledge being given about the fact that we have personal relationship with the Supreme Person who is sharing this body with us, that just simply by knowing that and developing the surrender in the mind to want to do the will of that person, the being who is giving us and guiding us in our lives to the knowledge about himself. Because it is the one we're sharing these bodies with that we are learning the capabilities of and the wants, the desires of, to want to bring us back home and bring us back to our eternal relationship and give us full understanding of what experiencing love for him is, and engaging in that activity that will give us most easily the experience of that love. This is all based on love. That's what my conclusion is. And if we're not matured in that process, we will give a bad representation of what we are thinking God is. You read Bhagavad Gita, you might think God's a military commander, wouldn't you? And that's how, when Krishna enters the arena, Krishna and Balaram are going to kill Kamsa. And all of Kamsa's underlings, the ones that are like guarding his palace and like that, they're seeing them through their own eyes as who they think Krishna and Balaram are. And this is evident of what all societies have done through all time. Evident by their own activities in what they do in proclaiming themselves as a society representative of the God they believe in, conducting themselves in a way that they believe is representative of the nation that they believe is following God. But what nation is following God? This is the question. All the nations of the world believing they're following God are engaging in wars time after time after time. So they're saying God wants war during this age. Now, if we don't fight off, if someone doesn't fight off these evil forces of atomic warfare, they have enough to destroy the world. But Srila Prabhupada says, stronger warfare than that is the Mahamantra. It may be hard for us to understand that, but in my mind, this is what makes me pain about the fact that we engage in most all the other activities regularly, even distributing books. We give lectures and like this. But the actual Harinam, going out in the streets and singing with cartels and drums, is not something we see, even as a congregation, that we have the leaning towards wanting to do. But that was Lord Chaitanya's form of this Harinam, which was a civil revolution against the orders of the governor, even. And yet he took up 5,000 devotees to reject the commands of his own uncle, Kankazi. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita. And to reveal the power, the potency, and the necessity of the chanting of the holy names. That's what he was bringing about. That he considered the chanting of the holy names and the allowance by the governor so important that he would deny the governor's authority against the name and proclaim that the name was more powerful than the laws the governor had proclaimed to be. When we go out on the streets, when we used to go out collecting, police would be called. They're disrupting the feast, they're taking collection donations, we don't know where they are. And the police would come. We have to answer questions, we have to get held up, we get put into questioning room, brought to the police station, interrogated for sometimes hours. Because of our lack of interaction with the authorities. So then we got wise, started making cheesecake. And then we started giving cheesecake, and then they start glorifying. When they say, wow, that was good cheesecake, they don't know it. That's glorification of Krishna. They're glorifying Prasadam. Prasadam is Krishna's love. Because he doesn't glance upon it favorably unless it has the qualification he says in the Bhagavad Gita. If you offer it with love, then I will glance upon it with love. Then it turns into love. That's what we're turning into. We want to turn into love. Satchidananda, Krishna's expansion of what he is, and he's always been that, and we've always been that, and we will always be that. So all we have to do is remember that, realize that, and then apply it. That's what Krishna conscious activities is. And then when we do it, then it comes automatically without having to be forced. I don't have to be forced to be a vegetarian now. Of course, I became vegetarian by obvious observation of what's going on in the meat packing markets. If people knew what they were being fed by what they're feeding these animals, and they do it on a quote-unquote economic basis, and what makes the most money, what fattens the animals. We want to give the animals weight because they get paid by weight. And then what happens, the people eat, and they are affected by the consciousness that went into the preparation of the meat, which is again this economic philosophy. Do everything for the sake of producing money. Who is Lakshmi Devi, who is Mother Saraswati, expanded Mother Saraswati, who is the wife of Krishna. And it is an expansion of their false egos wanting to lust after God's wife. It manifests itself in many, many different aspects of society, but that dollar bill is representing Krishna's expansion of the same energy who is wisdom, Mother Saraswati. She is the goddess of learning. And we expend our energy instead of obtaining that learning for the hope of obtaining what is represented as wealth, whether it's in the form of gold or paper with numbers on it or all this. We see that as more valuable in some politician's mind than life. This is what's going on in the pharmaceutical industry. The industry meant to be the curator, the cure of the ills of humanity at large. And yet, in fact, behind their misuse, the extraction of funds like thieves from the general public, they get the general public hooked like addicts do on the street that are having laws made against their distribution of drugs. But with the same opioids, they do it legally and extract, in some cases, thousands of dollars for one pill that has to be taken every month according to their instructions, because they do not know the science of Ayurveda, which is Krishna's own word, the truths of life, the truth of health, put into written form. But not having the knowledge is our responsibility to bring this knowledge to them, so they won't know the superior forms of application of the principles of healing the body without finding that it is a science of God. And that's the problem again with modern so-called spiritual paths. They separate science from God. They think God is a separate division of study from the study of the physical body, for example, which it is, but knowledge of it in its perfect sense is given by the one from whom the ability to manifest comes from, who is Krishna. So souls don't even have the ability. This substance we're manifesting in is so totally foreign to the substance the soul is made of. But we don't realize that on a regular basis. We don't think of that throughout the day. But we are intermingling with a substance that is so foreign to us as the eternal soul. And yet by conditioning, we still believe it can provide us, the physical body can provide us pleasure beyond what we're made of. So we run out looking for that without realizing the stuff we're made of provides more than this physical body can hold, more pleasure. It has to be covered over by our ignorance covers it over, our false egos covers it over, covers over love. Because almost, you could say, because love is an outgoing force to want to fulfill others. Lust is an ingoing always. I, me, and mine, I want something. So this is taking in rather than giving out. There is a science called feng shui. You heard of that? Which, by architectural design, gives people the understanding of ways to allow energy to move in their home. So the front door can either swing out or it can swing in. And that is a different way of reacting on people's consciousness when they enter the door. Is this door wanting me to come in? Or is this door forcing me to enter by my own, it's a different energy. So where you put a mirror in the house can make the house look big. And where it sets can direct energy in a certain way as well. That's all a science. Now, we have in India, the science we know is coming directly from Krishna. There was a time in history in which all the world had knowledge of the science of God. Some of these sciences have been preserved by other ancient societies found in China. The Tibetan monks themselves carry over these ancient sciences of medicine as well, applicable, as you can see, by use to cure, completely different from putting a Band-Aid on and saying you need a Band-Aid next week and come back, we'll give you another Band-Aid a week after that. Keep putting a Band-Aid on the same hole and it never healing up. That's not science and medicine. That's a money-sucking mosquito in the form of a human being, sucking the lifeblood out of the rest of the human race. But as devotees, and we see medicine now, modern medicine, quote unquote modern medicine, and thinking it to have taken the same form that medicine was 100 years ago, and it's not at all. Doctors would come to your home. Doctors knew the names of their patients and had seen them face to face in all transactions previously. Now, you might not know your doctor personally when you go to see him, but he sees you once a year or so, and whatever. They're applying medicine, for example, giving other people the blood from other human beings. That's a no-no. That's cannibalistic, actually. It's the eating of another human body in a different way. They're just not eating it with their mouth. They're putting it in directly. And the same purpose can be served by, coconut oil can be used directly as a transfusion. Chlorophyll can be used directly as a transfusion without the need for sucking out the blood of other human beings, depriving them of their lifeblood, intermingling their lifeblood, DNA factors, which come from karma, with the other DNA of other human beings, which come from karma. So they don't know the science of life. So without that, they mess everybody's karmic paths up. They don't even know they're doing it. By the simple whisper in your ear, about something they think is for your benefit can screw your whole life up. My dad lost a lung unnecessarily. He lost a tongue unnecessarily. My sister died at 13 years old unnecessarily, all due to quote-unquote modern medicine. But they will argue by numbers that some being allergic doesn't wipe out the sake of others being saved, but put them in the same situation as someone who dies. They have the same look on abortion. But I have revised my look on abortion because some of these demons that are aborting babies, in some cases, the child's end may be better without the birth in that particular family by that mother to have to suffer and experience the torture that child would otherwise have been born into. Can you imagine if she wants to kill the child without it being born? What's she going to do when it's crying? What's she going to do when he's hungry? And when she doesn't have money to support it? When she doesn't have time to take away from her dates with her boyfriends? This is the mentality in the society. And the government is set up in such a way to reward her for that activity. What do they call that? That's a branch of the government that gives rewards to single mothers. And it's just destroyed so many, because once they do that, then they give that knowledge of that to their children. Their children give it to their children. It's been going on for 3-4 generations now. They're finding this out. Elon Musk has been appointed by now a position, and he's just evidently retired because he feels as though he's done a complete job. They found all this stuff out that's been going on for years. Trillions of dollars that has been going by taxpayers to nonsense investments for research that doesn't have to be done by human beings. To try and find the mating principles of birds in Taiwan, for example. It's crazy stuff. They use taxpayers' money, and by doing that, they don't realize they are involving those taxpayers in that energy, depriving people that need that kind of energy, and causing their own karma to just pile up and pile up. It's sad. That's why we've got such a responsibility to somehow, by hook or by crook, we've got to bring these people to the truths, to heal these ills of society, and we've got to open their eyes for them to be able to even see that they're sick. It's a society that doesn't even know it's sick. It is functioning dysfunctionally, thinking of itself, living to be in paradise when it has created a hell. It has created a hell. And the societal's total experience of what should be societal relationships is totally berserk by all this rioting and rebelling against laws and so many differences that human beings are making against each other. Sorry to carry on so long. Any comments, any questions, any realizations? Grant Shrimadbhagavatam, Shrila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.